what's the next topic?
Safety in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do we feel safe in urban communities? That's a tricky one, man, because statistics and evidence is different from emotions, right? Sometimes both can go hand in hand, and sometimes both cannot go hand in hand. What I mean by that, what someone may deem dangerous, we may deem home, or that's Tyrone up the street. He acts like that all the time, or that's I grew up with them on the block, on the corner. They good, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody that's got popped. Oh, that happened every day. You can be very desensitized to certain things. So depending on how you ask the question, depends on how you get a, that's how you get a, depending on how you get a response. So I didn't get a chance to do the research like I wanted to, but we do have to take into consideration mass incarceration. We do got to take into consideration gun control, statistics and violence. We do got to take into consideration property value, jobs and everything like that to deem a community and what we talked about now in our inner city urban community safe to live in. Would you, if you could, would you, if you had a choice, would you live in one or not? And that's the question we should be asking, right? On top of the question at hand. If you could afford not to live in an urban community, your children and yourself, would you move outside the urban community? That would determine whether things are dangerous or not. Who want to have a shot at it? And I'll bring it back to myself.
I think it really just depends on the community. When you say urban community, you mean like the hood?
Yeah, the hood.
Or black people in it?
Yeah. Is it safe? Is it deemed safe?
Is the hood safe?
Yeah.
No, the hood ain't safe. Unfortunately.
And the question I gotta ask: if one could afford to have a choice, if one could afford to have a choice, whether to live in that environment or live outside that environment, which one would you take?
Look, it's black communities that are not in the hood. It's a bunch of black communities that's pretty affluent. I have one out where I work in Millersville. So it's very easy for me to say I'm going to move to a black community that's not the hood, that's got like, working people who make good money, people who pay mortgages and got backyards. You gotta think of places like Randallstown. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a few hoods out in Randallstown, but if I'm pretty sure if any of us had to choose, we're not going to choose to live, you know, on Northern Pennsylvania Avenue, Monroe and Baker.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'll take Windsor Mill over that any day.
I feel you. So the hood, so the inner city hood urban communities are considered dangerous to live in.
Yeah, very much so.
Certain ones, yeah. Especially if you don't have a lot of working class individuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
because go on. My bad, go.
Yeah, my bad. But that's the big difference. You know what I mean? Like if you got a place where, say, prostitution's high, drugs, you know what I mean? You got a lot of people just on the corner nodding out, and all of this going on, people breaking in people's cars. Of course, you don't want to be in that. But if everybody getting up and going to work in the morning, you tend to like that neighborhood more.
Yeah, because their minds are less idle. They're too tired to break law if you're working.
Right. You don't want to be the only one with a good car on the block. You know what I mean?
That's
Your
facts.
car the only decent one. 9 times you know they breaking in yours, guaranteed.
Exactly.
Ty, what you think, man?
Uh,
Give us something more in perspective. Tell us why the hoods aren't dangerous.
why
Inner
they?
city hoods. Yeah, give us the opposite. Why the hoods aren't dangerous.
I don't know if I could speak for that one, but I wish I could. But in terms of me living there, nah, that ain't happening. And it's not because like I don't think black people, I don't think it's about the people. It's about policy and the systems and stuff like that. Like just it's just not. I mean, the redlining, the mass incarceration, the de-investment, why, the lack of t tax revenue because the wealthy people have moved out of the neighborhood. Like the stay there is crazy because if you can't raise a family there, like you raise a you everything your family is immediately disadvantaged because of where you live at. Schools aren't going to get the investment. There no financial literacy programs. There's no rec centers. There's
They
none
took
of that.
those
And
out. They took the rec
yeah,
centers out.
yeah. So the way it does, the way like they blame the people, but for how they act, but it's like it's policy, you know what I mean? And that way you put any person in there, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's black, whether it's white, you give them those same conditions, right? They're gonna have the same outcome. People gonna be wilding out. People ain't gonna trust anybody. People is it's but no, I wouldn't live there. That I ain't gonna lie to you.
And
Okay.
I get the bag. I ain't there.
right. And the crazy thing about it is all you gotta go down to Pigtown and that's proof. That is proof that it's not just a black thing, not just because then you go down there and you see it's happening to them exactly the
Yeah,
same way.
South Baltimore.
Could I
It's
make
like,
a pushback argument and say maybe it's cultural conditions dealing with drugs and stuff like that? Because around the world, people deal with poverty, but you don't have these issues.
But then when you add drugs in the mix around the
That's
world,
what I'm
you can see
saying.
a lot of these
It
things
gets
happen.
different.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it is. I think it's the drugs.
Right.
I
Because
really
when
do.
your mind, the mind state, when that point is gone, where all you're doing is living for the existence to go and chase that high, everything else goes to the corner. You don't care about washing yourself. I mean, you know what I mean? The simple, basic things. Eating food, you know what I mean? Washing yourself, taking care of your
Judgment.
place. All of the simple
Judgment. Yeah.
things, right? You don't even care about that anymore. So what are you paying bills for at that point? You know what I mean? The only thing you're doing is chasing that. So that's what's going on when you got people chasing these addictions. And I think that goes back to the thing of it. This society is pretty much to the point now where we're just advocating people to gain more and more addictions. You know what I mean? We're just being addicted to more and more things. And as that happens, more and more people are losing their minds. You know what I mean? And as the fact that everyone losing their minds like this is going to come to a point, it's like a full crisis moment, like as if all of a sudden we wake up and everyone's like zombies.
Cool thing, bro. You know what I mean by that? When you get up every day, or at least 5 times a day, and you exercise, you have a routine, you play chess, you stimulate the brain, the spirit, and the body, and you remain consistent at doing that. You would see the less resistance of the distraction and addictions that's going around because that's what the powers that be. They want to distract you. They want to put all these billboards up. They want to attract you and have you addicted to something, whether it's food, drugs, sex, or whatever the case may be. So you can wake up and be a zombie, or you can be distracted. You can't be focused on things that needed to be focused, and that's time consuming. It takes time away from you. It takes time away from your family. It takes time away from your belief systems. It takes time away from all these things when you're distracted with vices. And I think that's it's not the hood itself, it's what they're putting in the hood. I was thinking a few seconds ago, I was like, well, Ty mentioned rec centers. I know when they have rec centers in my community, rival neighborhoods be fighting, then they had to shut it down. But it ties back again to drugs and the upbringing. A lot of these kids come from broken homes and drug infested
Yeah.
homes. So you gotta ask yourself, what is the cause? What is the cause of the youth and the people in general in the community acting this way? It got to be a cause of why they just don't get up out of nowhere and say, we're prone to some type of violence. They don't get up and say,
Uh,
I'm evil. Let me just start chaos. It got to be some type of cause and effect of why the people are reacting to the way they do. And the powers that be knows this. And this is how they gain control and
and
mastery over people.
let me also say this, like add to that, is I feel like also I've said it many times in different episodes, but like it's a spiritual decay that's in our community where people just don't they're empty, they're void. They don't have no framework to evaluate life. They've been disconnected from the systems that help create identity and give you purpose and so on and so forth. So when you put a person in a situation where you put them in a concrete jungle, there's no investment, no jobs, no nothing but drugs, music and gangs and stuff like that, that happens. But if a person has knowledge of their self, knowledge of their history, knowledge of their people, they have a connection with God, then it's you get a different outcome. You know what I mean? And there's I don't know,
Yeah,
think
because they did. Go, I'm sorry, go.
I think like not that not that I agree 100% with the Nation of Islam, but think about how the Nation of Islam, during their heyday, they came in and took a lot of black men out of jails and off the streets and gave them purpose, gave them meaning, gave them rebuilt them up. Now they might have misled them on other things, but you know what I mean. They were effective on giving them purpose in a society that negated blackness, that told us that we were worthless, you know what I mean. So I'm always going to like echo that point, is like spirituality is important. It's not just economics, you know what I mean. Like spirituality is important.
Yeah, that's the force field, but unlike force fields, I mean, just like every force field, it can be broken, but that's the strong foundation. Then once you work on that, in my opinion, you got to work on the education. I mean, all that falls into education, but
Education,
then you
yeah.
got to work on education. Then you got to work in that within that frame of education, it comes financial awareness. And from that financial awareness, right, there comes community, stores and sticking together, opening up stores and
Right.
people in that community, black people in general, loving one another. Once the love is gone and people looking at one another as a come up or looking at one another predatorial, you can never function in society. It would never elevate itself, you know? Um, Skills, mega the scholar, hip hop scholar, all that, man.
I really don't have much to say on it. Like, no, the hood is not safe, but as black people in America, where is our safety? You know what I mean? Like, there's several.
What happened? Cut off? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you on?
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you must have cut off.
Yeah.
Hit me back. Bizzle, what you think? Bizzle, you with me?
His mic off.
Oh, we was
Yes, I'm
cooking too,
here.
man.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, what you think is urban communities, are they safe to live in? And if you had a choice, would you stay in one?
Now, if I had the choice, no. But is it dangerous? It depends where you go, and I feel like, um, every hood, every urban community has a Gov, has a Adam Ill, has a me. I think some people, especially from the outside looking in, they see those communities as no better than food stamps, ski masks, wearing black Air Force energy type people around there and ghetto bonnet wearing women, you know what I mean? And it's no good. But I feel like for someone that's lived in the hood or has been around it, um, and someone that's lived in it and that wasn't a part of that lifestyle can have a more mutual understanding and opinion about it. But for me, this, I personally never lived in such an area, but I have, alhamdulillah, with my pops visited or been around here and there. I feel like it depends on which hood you're going to, the area, and it just depends on the vibe, the people you're around. Just because you're in the hood doesn't mean you gotta hang around people with that energy. You can hang around, a family having a cookout. You can hang around certain block kids out playing and having fun, you know what I mean? Unless you're looking for that, and of course it's gonna be around there, but if you're not looking for that and that's not your vibe, then yeah, it's a pretty chill place as long as you keep yourself. Me, if I had the choice, I wouldn't live there for survival reasons because yeah, like I mentioned before, it can be safe depending where you are and your surrounding. At the same time though, um, is more because life for me is all about survival and having survival instincts. You know what I mean? Though it's not dangerous, to an extent, you don't want to live your life every day worrying about okay, what can potentially happen? What can I might be a victim, or I might be have an unlucky day and I might be in the crossfire of something, or I might get robbed, something like that. You know what I mean? So there's people like I said, and I'm not sure sound like a broken record. There's people like I said that are living in those areas every same day or that know people from those areas. So it's best not to judge and assume that everybody from those areas are evil people or people that are just, not good for the community. There's people that having cookouts that have family, friends there, that have memories and
Yeah.
all types of things there. They're humans just like you are. But again, that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a dangerous place depending where you are. There is politics in those areas sometimes. And for me personally, if I had the choice to be in Colombia or be somewhere a little better, I would definitely be in that place and take whoever, if I had the funds and the money, whoever I know that's in that area, if they chose to, be in a better place. Because, we all want to be comfortable at the end of the day. Unless you just like that area, you purposely just want to live there. And, that's you.
Some people have been, raised in those environments their whole life and became desensitized to it. So again, depending on the mindset, where if you remove yourself from it for a while, right, it's almost like learning all over again. Is getting, the rules, the do's and don'ts, and the feel of it, right? Getting yourself your feet wet again. But somebody that been raised in those environments and never left those environments, they can be very desensitized to the point where you've been removed from it for 5, 10 years, 15 years, and you may go back and visit, and they're like, yo, Lord JoJo got popped up the street 10 times, yo, in front of, we had a cookout, everything was good, and blah, blah, whoop the whoop, and you like, they like, oh, he gonna be all right, man. Straighten up. Come on, man. Let's go ahead and play PlayStation. You good? People can be desensitized to certain environments. And I think even in that, there's a devil's advocate of looking at things. Like, you're like, yo, have you became numb to this? Get out. You know what I'm saying? Like, get out, bro. And in a sense, they can look at it from a different point, like, yo, it is what it is. It's dangerous everywhere in the world to a degree. Now, before Skills go back and cook on this topic, I'm gonna let him end with it. Jam, you said something earlier. You said there are Black communities out, in the outskirts of the hood. And I want to piggyback on what you said. That's a very important part. Me personally, I like diversity. I like diverse neighborhoods, right? But if I didn't have if I had if it was a thing of lack of diversity, I'd rather move amongst my people that's homeowners and want good out of life. If that makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
Because you can feel uncomfortable. Well, me, I'm speaking on myself. I can feel uncomfortable moving to an all-white neighborhood in the suburbs. That's dangerous to me.
Right.
That is very much dangerous. Real talk. Very dangerous. Or any other person community. It's very, very dangerous. So I just want to say that in general. Skills in this topic on you know on your note.
Yeah. Basically, I was just saying that I feel like America in itself, or North America specifically, is just dangerous all around. You get what I'm saying? Like, so we we just have to be aware of our surroundings, not living in fear. You get what I'm saying? But yo, Adam L, can you repeat the original question? I just want to make sure that I fully answer your question.
If I can remember, are are urban communities considered dangerous? And if you had the funding, would you stay in that community or remove yourself from it? Like leave for a better community?
Okay, so I would say yes, but I feel like there's danger in other places too. You know what I'm saying? But also, if given the choice, yes, one would naturally want to go to somewhere that they deem safer. But just because you moved somewhere safer doesn't mean that you can't give back or can't try to change your environment around you. You get what I'm saying? So yes, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, real quick, and on this don't go to the top five. Um, how would you feel if people called you a sellout?
For
You
wanting
know,
to
and this,
leave,
yeah, yeah. This question for the whole panel. If they say, "Yo, you think you're too good now? Come around here with your nice car and your picket fence and stuff." You know, because sometimes it's a thing called survivor's remorse, and that could be detrimental and dangerous if you're not careful.
Yeah.
You know, so
It's like we see that a lot, especially from the celebrity side of it. When you think about certain celebrities are known for being hood, but then they grow up, their kids grow up in a non-hood environment, and now we're starting to see a bit of that. There's like an identity crisis going on with the children of them. So
yep.
because they think, well, I've lost my authenticity. You know what I mean? A lot of time people are. See, that's the thing about it too. We're getting tricked with this whole thing in a way because we want to tie our authenticity to the place that we happen to have been born in versus it being something that's coming from within. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big part that's what's really gotten lost from it. So now we got so many people that are just walking around clones of the next one, whoever they think is going to be. So we got clones of clones of clones instead of just people just being authentic.
That's deep. That's facts. That's facts.
well, I have a
And
question for y'all, man. Because I saw a picture, right? Young Jeezy, his son graduated from, I don't know what college he graduated from, but his son graduated, right? And basically, the caption said, he told your son to trap or die, but he told his son to study and strive. You feel me? And it was a big debate about this on Facebook. Do y'all think that's an accurate caption or
no, no, I hate when people straw man things. I really do. It's like he told you trap or die because that's what his environment was and his lifestyle at the time.
Exactly.
You understand? Now that he's in a better lifestyle, you want him to tell his son, go in the hood and learn like I did and trap or die. No. That album came out, what, 15 years ago? You're looking at a man with a different mindset who elevated himself in life and proud of his son and looking at the fruits of his labor, you know, because he elevated. And I don't think no one's a straw man or whatever term you want to use for it and put that up there and say, well, he told your son to trap or die, but he told his son to strive. Like, really, man? Like, these people get on my nerves with that. Like these celebrities are supposed to be some type of revelation or prophet or something. They're entertainers. He went through what he went through. He elevated himself. He's a great father. Why? Because it's shown through his children. You understand? He should not. That's the wrong capture. That's the wrong thing for Jeezy. They shouldn't come for Jeezy like that, man. That's completely wrong. That's completely wrong. That's my take on it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I see what they're coming from though when they saying that, because it's like he was advocating a particular lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So when you're advocating for something, that's what they saying. For all the people that didn't have those role models who looked to him. So there's like saying like right now, people mad at the scammer song. You know what I mean? And they're saying the same thing about. So say they go into the future. And Young Miami, they like, yeah, so your daughter, she came up and she did a whole different set of things. How come she wasn't chasing after the scammers the same way that you were saying to do? So it's kind of like the same thing in a way, because we understand that they're in the business of doing this and that, but at the same time, you're advocating. And sometimes everyone does not have the wherewithal or the guidance to even be able to differentiate between what is good and what's not. They don't understand what the showbiz side of it is and what reality is. You know what I mean? A lot of times those type of things are going on, so people are actually making life decisions based on that. They reciting lyrics. You know what I mean? A lot of these people, they just let this stuff just penetrate way beyond just being listened to. It turns into a part of their whole persona.
It's a good take. You know, that's a good way of looking at it. But I think this ownership again from the parents, bro. I mean, when I was coming up in school, you know, the teachers was there to teach, but your characteristics, you learn that from your household. So they can't decipher a man telling his story of a place and time and the mindset that he was in from now. That's just something wrong with society. That's just foolish on my account. That's crazy. That is crazy. Now, I would judge the Cardi B situation where she is out there making certain music and casting certain spells, but she would not let her daughter listen to it. That should be judged. You know?
Well, I would argue that
should...
somebody would say that that is somewhat, I'm not going to say misogynistic, you feel me? But I think that if you hold Cardi to that standard, and you would have to do the same with Jeezy. I think that there's truth on both sides. I feel like this. It's a great thing that his son has broken the cycle. You feel me? But at the same time, a lot of people did go down a path listening to what Jeezy was saying and applying it to their life. But like you said, Adam L., this is entertainment. Brother Malcolm said a very long time ago that Black entertainers should not be seen as role models, but in our community, athletes, musicians, people like that, their word has a lot of weight within the community. You feel me? So, yes, a parent should be telling a child, don't listen to that shit. That shit is entertainment. You feel me? But a lot of people do listen to the music and apply it to their life. So I do feel like people got a right to look at Jeezy funny if they was raised on Jeezy music. And it's like, okay, you pushing that to us, but that's not what you pushing in your household. You feel me? And not that we should want that for his child. You shouldn't want that for nobody. You feel me? People, that's not, you feel me? That's not what you should want for anybody. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The same way that people blame Future and Juicy J, and rightfully so, because a lot of their music at one point in time was based upon people getting high. You feel me? It's like sipping on syrup and dirty Sprite and all that. Like there's a lot of people that dedicated their life to doing shit like that because of their music, because of the influence of their music. And if somebody look at them crazy, like y'all set your people back or y'all influenced a lot of fuckery, then it's true that they influenced a lot of fuckery. I think two things can be true. And I think that it is true in those circumstances. I think Gov got a point for real. You feel me? I think you got a point too, but I'm just saying, like, I can't, it does look crazy if you pushing all this thug motivation and then, you feel me? Because in hip hop, like we talk about a lot, this is the one genre where your life off the mic and on the mic supposed to be like that. You get what I'm saying? what you say in your songs, that's what you're supposed to be about and stand on. Now it'd be different if Jeezy had took the David Banner approach where he went from kind of like a pimp to damn near on his revolutionary shit, and he was displaying that in his interviews and his music. That would be different, but that's not the case
Have
when it comes to
Jeezy music,
Jeezy.
have his music grown? I mean, I listened to Jeezy. I think the last album I listened to, the one he dropped in 2024, or is that mixtape with Drama. That's the last one I listened to. I can't recall the
It's
title.
been a long time, but I'm just
But
saying, like forever.
the
He,
Snowman joint,
see
right?
what I'm saying? If he's still going by the snowman, then that would mean that he's pushing a line that represents a certain type of lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. And you know, I give credit to Jay. A lot of people talked about him uh, making songs about painting and stuff like that. But if you ever follow Jay-Z's career, you see an evolution of someone that's growing, right? And it's a slippery slope, man. We want artists to talk about their experiences and their lifestyles. I just think what makes it what separates an MC from a rapper. An MC could give you the lessons within the story, and he can make it a storyline. And he does a great way of not glorifying it. Where the rapper is just due to lack of steady, it seems like it's glorification. It seems like this is my life, and you ain't cool unless you doing this. So follow me.
Yeah.
If that's a point, you know.
I I'm a I've said it before. Like I don't think you can separate the artist from their work. You got to hold them. Like yes, Jeezy. I don't blame Jeezy for giving his child a different life, but at the same time, you got to be held accountable for the poison that you injected into the community because music shapes mood. It shapes identity, memory. It's been scientifically proven that it conditions people from a neuropsychological basis through the repetition and effect and so on and so forth. And like the things that we model in our behavior in our music, like the violence and drug use and materialism. And then, do you not belong to the black community? If you're a part of the black community, you do owe us something. You can't just you can't be outside of it and be like, that's y'all. Y'all got to do that. No, we all as human beings, we owe each other something. You know what I mean? So we come in. The black community is already broken and fragmented as it is right now. And when you go out and inject that, you can't just that's like copping a deuce when you just like be like, oh, that's on y'all to know to filter out what's good and not. It's like, no, you come from, the conditions that our people live in, the context that we come from. You can't just like cop out like that and be like, yeah, that was y'all should have known better. You know what I mean? Maybe a white person could do that, you know what I mean? But you can't. You know what our condition is and our context is. So I don't blame you for but you can't distance yourself away from what you've done. You have to be held accountable for that, whether it's here, whether it's now. Yes, people grow, but you can't absolve yourself of what you've done.
I think it's just a thin line, and I'm gonna let Jam and Bizzle cook. I think it's just a thin line of, you know, speaking your reality and people glorifying it. You know, it's a thin line. Speaking of that, I don't know the true story behind it, but due to what Lord Jamal said about Stove God Cook, it just made me want to Earl, bro. You heard about that, Skills?
Yes, I saw that video. You talking about when he was saying that basically Stove God Cooks was sneak dissing him and he didn't sign a bad deal. He accepted um the advance but didn't turn the album in, which is why he can't drop music on his own.
Nah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah, go.
did it's all the same interview. And you talking about the part where he said that that Stove God isn't really like that and this is a persona. Talking about that part?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If that's true, bro, if that's true, I'm going on record on Guess I Said that's one of the worstest human beings on earth, bro. You worse than an actor. Because at least an actor, you know he's playing a role, right? If you sounding convincing like that, and again, you putting that energy in the spells in the universe, you're worse. You scum, bro. You scum.
I'll say this
Keep
too,
real.
right? I saw a video from before he was Stove God when he went by Aaron Cooks.
He was
It's
a positive
very,
rapper.
very different. Yeah, he was a conscious rapper. It's
Yeah.
very, very different from who he is now. You feel me? So
Sick.
I'm sad to see him beefing with Jamal and Rock Marcy, and you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
that's
Hopefully,
sick.
eventually his album will come out. But yeah, that was crazy, yo.
Yeah, no frauds, man. No frauds allowed. No frauds, man. If you want to speak that, you that rapper that watch everything from the outside of your window or on your stoop, as you will. Rap about it in their life. Let us know that you're a witness to these things. But don't have it like you was an actual person in the kitchen. You was an actual person busting your gat. You was an actual person in this federal joint, stuff like that. You're a fraud. You the worstest of the worst. And that's the person who really should be on trial. You misleading today's youth. Jam, what do you got to say about this? And Bizzle can cook after you, and we can go to the top five.
What was the question again?
Jeezy, what you said, Skills? I don't want to butcher.
Basically, Jeezy. There's a picture that went viral of Jeezy and his son. His son graduated from college, right? So the caption said, Jeezy told your son to trap or die, but told his son to study and strive, right? So people were in the comments arguing, and I was asking the panel, is that a fair take or not?
I think it goes both ways because his son graduated college. You said right?
Yes.
So 20 years ago, his son was probably a toddler, a little boy, and that's when Jeezy was still on his come up, doing his thing. Um, Now a lot of change can happen to or for a person over that amount of time. So yeah, while I do agree that he should be held accountable for the music that he put out 20 years ago, um, he should be held accountable for, but it's like he's not that same guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's not that guy anymore. But at the same time, I understand why people was like, "Oh, he told his son." I don't think he was telling his son that back when his son was a little boy. He was still a drug dealer in the street, and I'm pretty sure his son saw that as a small child. But let's say by the time his son was like 10 or 11 years old, he saw a different Jeezy. You know what I'm saying? He saw somebody who, you know, wasn't in the streets like that anymore.
But only thing to give him a black eye is that he did what 3 or 4 years ago he did a song with DJ Drama. Snow something snowfalls. If somebody can get the correct name, we'll edit this out. But he did a mixtape with DJ Drama not too long ago, and that had the same energy, talking about their work, and this is modern day time.
Oh
So
shoot!
if I wanted to give him a pass, that just killed everything right there.
Even had a song called "Keep That Same Energy."
Never mind that. Never mind.
Hey, yo, that is hilarious.
Yeah. So he told everybody's kids. But see, that's the thing. People be giving rappers too much power, yo. I get it. Music has influence over people, but people be giving these rappers too much power.
Yeah, they're the modern day role models, man. Before that, it was the civil rights movement and Garvey and Malcolm,
Right.
and then you had the Black Panther movement. And then they erased them and were pimps and drug dealers, and everybody looked at the reason why our community look up to people. Somebody told me this a while back, and it made a lot of sense. I said, why are the youth looking at engineers and people who graduated from certain trades and colleges and lawyers and doctors and stuff, scientists? He said because that's not what they see. They that's not what they see in their hood all the time. They see the man, with the fancy cars and the women and the nice house. They looking at the aesthetics of a come up. So that's they look at that as a lens of success. So therefore they're attracted to that, and that's their role model. So when they see these rappers, and we know 90% of them are probably broke. We know 90% of this is a facade. But when they see the guy, they don't know that that man taking that Bentley back to the dealership. They don't know that that man is leasing that house, or, the record label leased that house and he live in a condo or a one-bedroom apartment somewhere in the suburbs. That's not really his mansion. You understand what I'm saying? They don't understand the fugaziness of what they're saying is an illusion. They're just looking at that as a success. So therefore they're attracted. They go for those type of role models, except for the person who's really making money, the lawyer, the accountant, the person who's really can make a difference in your life and really change it for the better. Because let's face it, most songs wear out through time. They don't become classic. And as you get older, you look at songs differently. I don't look at Mobb Deep Infamous the same I look at it back in 95, 94. You understand what I'm saying? So that wears out. But the gems you get from that engineer, that lawyer, that accountant, that doctor, that's forever. You can carry that on. That's generational. You can pass that on. Bizzle, I know we stayed too long on this topic, and it was a good topic. Appreciate the skills for bringing it up.
Yes.
No
Yes,
problem.
sir.
I'm trying to fact check that he graduated from college because apparently the picture is from high school, but I do believe he graduated. Regardless, this is still a good conversation. You found me, because a lot of rap, it's a good conversation regardless. I'm gonna put what I got for fact checking in the chat later.
Bizzle,
Yes,
what's your
sir.
thoughts on it? And then we're going to end this topic and then end the night with the top five. We can probably breeze through that real quick.
Ask the question one more time.
Jeezy's son graduated.
Jeezy.
His son graduated college. So then they saying, Jeezy back in the day, trap or die, right? But so the question is, instead it was like he was basically saying to his son, study and strive. You know what I mean? So they're saying, so that's like between the two, isn't that kind of like contradiction from what he telling everybody else versus what he tell his son?
Well, I mean, I think it's people's fault for taking certain artists seriously and not knowing it's two things. Taking certain artists seriously and not knowing and doing enough research of the artists and who they are and their background and history. If you are going to take from what they say, if you're listening for knowledge, then there's a lot of artists, it's a plethora of artists to select from and listen to, but we ignore those artists. Instead, we go to the trap artists and we try to acquire some knowledge. Um, the best knowledge you're probably going to acquire is probably street knowledge. And if you're looking for that and that's your lane, or you're looking for some gems about life here and there, you may find it, you may not, but the most knowledge you're going to acquire from that is street knowledge. I would like to say that. If you're looking for um other things and other avenues and topics and other stuff, I feel like there's so many artists you can listen to and take from that. Second thing is you gotta understand people mindsets change. Jeezy's not the same person he was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? His values change. He has um different missions, different goals from back then. You know, his mindset is different. Especially when you have a kid and you see your kid grow up and you want more better. It's not just yourself. You're thinking for two, three, four other people, depending on how many kids you have. And for all the fathers in here, understand that, you know what I mean? So your mindset is not going to stay the same forever. Um, so you taking into account to what he said 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and holding that against him now because his kid graduated and saying that's not what you told me and that's not what you are teaching our kids. Well, that's your fault for taking that for face value. You know what I mean? Like, come on, be serious. There's so many artists, so many groups that were telling you and steering you to the right direction, but you ignore those groups. And you listen, no offense to Jeezy, but you listen to Jeezy for advice?
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
mean, it
You know
makes
what I mean?
sense.
Like, I feel like it says more about you than it says for the actual artist. That's my opinion.
Hey, let's all right, last topic, man. What was it? Scales that were top underrated
Um,
albums.
yeah, top five underrated
Okay,
albums for the last 4 years.
let's only because time restraints. Let's breeze through it. I wish although all the topics we expound on today was 100, but I'm gonna go through my top five. It's a short time. First, I got MM Food, MF Doom, and the reason why